needs to be addressed now is not giving up. It's so many people it's a hit that we taking right now. So the best thing we can do is just keep pushing and just remember who you are, remember why you are, remember what it is that you're supposed to do. It's a mission to accomplish. It's something that has to be finished with or without you. So the best thing you can do is just take your spot. Take your spot and not let anybody else take it from you.
Hallelujah, Jesus. Glory. Thank you, God. Hallelujah, Jesus. God, we just give you the praise and the glory for this day. We thank you in advance for what you're about to do with us, Lord God, in this house on the day. I thank you for this blessed nation that you are raising up, this Joshua generation that is about to take on everything that the enemy called himself though. So God, we praise you in advance for what you are doing. Amen.
Back when I look to my right, they go breakneck. When I look to my left, they go destiny. When I look to my front, there go my future. When I look to the back, oh no, no, no. My past is over with. You can't stop Jehovah. You can't stop Yahweh. You can't stop the great I am who lives inside of me. You can't stop Jehovah. You can't stop Yahweh. You can't stop the great I am. The Son, and the Holy Ghost. I got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I'm back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea with the Ladies segment with yours truly, TIMERA Bell. I'm so excited about the guests that we have on today. I want to first start by allowing Prophetess, Pastor, Caitlin to just introduce yourself, let them know what you do, and however the Lord leads you.
Hallelujah. Well, hello, everyone. I am Pastor Caitlin. I am the founder of Sister Chat. I am also the founder of Everlasting Water International Ministries. Just a little bit about myself. I'm just a person that loves God, humbly serve, and I just love God's people. That's it.
Awesome. All right, and then we have Spain. Spain, if you could just go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Yes, I'm Spain Hollis. I'm a makeup artist. I own the Spain Experience. We're located at 507 North Davis Drive, Suite 208.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna definitely dive into conversation. I'm still like on a high right now. What? I knew it was gonna be peculiar. I knew God was going to move. I knew those two things. I did. And I'm just excited right now because what you were saying before we even went live was needed. I mean, that I can't even express no other word but needed. Because so many times I think as prophets, we prophesy. God uses us to give release prophetic, but it's it's rare that we actually get it. And so you were flowing, girl, and I was like, God, yes, because a lot of stuff that you were saying was answers to prayers that I've been praying. Yes, like anytime God answers prayers, like, well, thank you, Lord. But also something that I saw was expansion for you.
Lord, thank you, God.
Expansion for you. Like I'm talking about big.
Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Big. And I don't know, like, if you have in your mind or you have been in prayer about some things. But even when you were sitting there, I saw building for you. And I don't know if that's something you've been praying for.
That's
But
exactly what I was just telling you.
wow, God showed that it's coming to you. It's coming to you. And it's crazy because it's not crazy. When I say crazy, it's a good thing, okay? So what's so, I'm going to say, crazy about the whole thing is God is going to give you favor in it where you're going to be like, no way. Like, no way. It was not supposed to happen like this, but it did. So I had to release that to you. I had to give that to you.
To God be the glory. We're ready.
Yeah.
Hey, me and my team, we ready.
Amen. 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 All right, so Spain, let's talk about what you were talking about. This not giving up. Because you all, I want to know how y'all feel on that. Because we're in a time right now, of course, society is saying a lot of things that are actually contradicting what God has spoken to us. And so, what are some things that y'all can give the audience as far as why they should not give up?
Purpose. It's just one word, purpose. Because I look at us as people as being little puzzle pieces to a bigger picture, right? So if we doing what we supposed to do and what we've been told to do, we are only people that know it. So like how you two just did, I'm over here like, child, how in the world I'm finna come out of that? But the thing is, me being on this end, it's like you watching it work. You get what I'm saying? If you're not in position, you won't be able to see it. And not only that, you won't be able to do that. So it's important that we maintain our positions because, how can I put it? It's somebody that's trying to take it. It's somebody that's trying to take it. Because if you're not doing it, somebody will. You get what I'm saying? So if you know that you are supposed to be, it's like, I'm going to put it this way. Football teams, right? You chose the team when you said yes to God. So if you don't play your position, you're no longer protected. But you still chose a side.
Come on here.
So when you play in the field, the enemy knows whether or not you're protected by your armor. So if you don't have your armor on, you wide in the open. Guess who they're going to get first?
Come on here.
So you have to be in your position with your armor on.
Man.
And when you playing, right, you can't play without your protection. Because either way you chose a side. It's one or the other. Ain't no black. It ain't no gray area, right? It's either black or white. And I was listening to somebody a couple of days ago, and he was saying he used to be on the other side of the enemy. He was worshiping and doing, what they do, right? So I found it interesting that it's so similar.
Wow.
It's so similar because they do the same things based on what home team they playing for. So if they do the same thing on the home team that they playing for, what makes you think they're not going to attack you when it's their time? Because they're playing their positions to the best of their ability. So if they get you and you out here like, well, I'm just doing what I want to do, they're going to get you first. That's why it's important not to give up, because either way you're going to get hit. But you will want to be protected in the process so you don't feel it.
Wow. Girl.
That was good all by itself. Just to back up what she was saying, as I was sitting here, God began to say 3 P's. He said, pressure pushes you into position. Woo! And as she was speaking, and he was saying that same thing to me, he said, unlike looking at life as a battlefield that's going through and you feeling like you don't have no one in the process of going through, understand that pressure that you're feeling while you're going through it is meant to bring you out on the other side of it. field with a victory.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people get in a place of defeat and they go to they be defeated before the game starts. And he says it's based off the mindset that the person have before they start the game. And realizing that when you're on the field of God, understand that no matter, like she said, how you get hit, you still win.
Right.
And so a lot of time I feel that when people begin to give up, they're already taking that defeat in their mindset. So they begin to perform as if they have already lost the game.
Right.
So when the mindset begins to shift, it begins to put them in a position of where they say, hey, well, I take this licking and keep a ticket, I still win.
That's it.
Because that's what it's like being on this side of the field. We don't always get those W's in the way that we expect them to come. But at the end of the day, we still come out on the other side. Because his word tells us that he's bringing us to an expected end. Romans 8:28 say all of those things work together. Every leak, every fall that we take, it all still comes back and work in our favor when we're on the right side.
You know, I love the fact that you said what you said, because I think a lot of times when people look at the lifestyle, our lifestyle, they automatically think no struggle, no pain, no suffering. How is it that you don't give up, right? Not realizing that, no, it still comes with that. It still comes with that stuff. But what it is, like you said, mindset. Mindset. See, I'm a believer of Christ. I'm a believer of God. And I know that God is going to work it out for me. I know that God is going to fight the battles for me. But also, I know what I have in my bag. And what I have in my bag is the word, which is my sword. And this particular sword cannot be broken, cannot be defeated, right? And I think some people are saying, you're doing too much. I can't do that. I can't even, no, you ain't tried it. You tried it on the level in which you want to try it. But you haven't tried it by giving everything you got to God. And I think that has really confused people. I'm going to use that word. It confuses them. Because I was on the phone with someone the other day, and they asked me questions. And see, that's why you got to know your word. You got to know your word. Because one of the questions that was asked was, why would the Bible say, thou shalt not kill? That don't make sense. Because God will put us in situations that will cause you to kill. And I said, and my response was this: why would you tell your 4-year-old son not to touch a hot stove? You're not telling your 4-year-old son, don't ever touch a stove. What you're telling your son is you're immature at this moment. You have no knowledge of this right here to make a wise decision. So I'm going to need you not to touch that stove. And I broke it down to that person like that, saying the commandments were used of protection. It's a protection mechanism. And once you begin to understand, it was not for God to imprison you, but it was for God to protect you. Then you will begin to utilize the principles that God actually put in place. So, I think a lot of times it is confusing. Not knowing, thinking it the way you want to think it. And also reading something without having the proper perception. Because I do believe that people can have incorrect perception. And that's why it's so important to allow ourselves to constantly learn. How important is that for y'all? Like, even with the people y'all hang with.
It's beyond important, because that comes from the root of knowing who you are. Because when you know who you are, you can catch certain things when you see certain situations away. So just say you have a group of friends, right? And it's a heavy situation in between the people that you're with. Everybody's going to see it different based on who they know they are or what they have been through. So that determines how they would respond to a certain situation. And that's why it's important. You have to evaluate everybody's characteristics around you too. Because if you're in a hard situation, who's going to fold first? That's the question. Because you can't have everybody making decisions based on what it is that they see if you can't see their characteristics first. Because somebody may see that it's right, and it's like, nah, it's not really right according to me. Even though you may be protecting me, you may really love me, but it's really stabbing me in the back. You get what I'm saying? You can't determine them as bad, but their character can't stand in the moment of where I am right now. So it's all about perception and what you've been through and how you deal with it.
And I love what she just said. That was just, I'm like, how can I come behind that? But I feel that when it comes to people, you have to recognize the seasons of where people are at that time in their life and understand whether or not you are they are a liability or an accident. And a lot of times I feel that when it comes to people, when the seasons begin to change and you don't recognize that a season is changing and you keep them walking in the same pattern that you are walking on, it begins to make a stumbling block either for them or for you according to where you're trying to go. And like she said, knowing your identity is going to be the key part. Knowing when to let loose, knowing when to hold on, knowing when to say, hey, this is not going to work at all. And I feel that when you know who you are fully and the fullness of who God calls you to be, I personally, I like to be alone. I'm going to be honest. As prophets, it's something that we like people when they're in the midst of us. But in the same token, in the back of our mind, we like, shoot, I just want to be by myself.
Right.
And so me being who I am, especially now as a pastor, I know my people. I know according to the seasons of where they are. So I don't deal with them according to where I think they are or where they should be. I come to where they are and I meet them there. And so when it comes to things like that, I be what they need me to be in that season of their life. So me being able to identify them, where they are, looking at them in the season of where they are, I can operate properly. So I did away kind of with the friendship stuff. But to say when I was in that vein of where I was in life, I used to always take inventory. Hey, do you fit where I'm going? I will have those conversations just to see is our mindset on the same type of level. If I'm starting to say mega and you starting to say, well, I don't see that, we're not walking on the same page. The Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? And so I look for the agreement upon the thing because I need to know that if I get in a situation, can you pray me through?
Definitely.
Can you talk to me and tell me something that help me pull me out? And so I begin to listen at the verbiage because I always say heaven has a verbiage. Heaven has words that can hold, it can be so little but hold so much weight. And I look for that verbiage to come forth when it comes to people that's supposed to be connected to me. And if you're not speaking what heaven is saying and you're giving me the carnalness of what the world has to say, I begin to be like, that ain't it.
Right.
So I just look for the agreement because we can't walk and do anything unless we're on the same accord.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely. Oh, man. So listen, you guys, if you have an inner circle, you have people that you are hanging around, you want to definitely listen out, look out for the agreement. Listen for the verbiage, like Pastor Caitlin has said, but also you want to make sure that you are walking in alignment, walking in that agreement to the point where you're going into the right direction. So you all, we will be back after the break. We'll see you soon. Hey, if you're saying that you want to be impacted, motivated, inspired, you would like life key pointers that's going to help you in your life so that you can become the best version of you, I am doing 30 days for free with my Royal Women Life Mentorship Coaching. So if you're saying, yeah, I said it, I know I had to stop right there because I know you're probably like, free, wait a minute. Yes, for 30 days, absolutely free, you get to go inside of my Royal Women group coaching, all right, and get some insightful information that's going to help you with your life. Transformation is what it's all about. So if you're interested in joining, just click the link in this video so that you can gain for free for 30 days full access to my Royal Women Life Group Coaching session. Now let's get back to the show. And we're back, you guys. I'm so excited right now. I'm like I said, I'm on a high. It still ain't came down yet. Still ain't came down. But I got some questions for y'all today. I got some questions for you. So, Spain started a conversation with don't give up. And, both of y'all are visionaries. Both of y'all are in y'all purpose. So let's talk about that a little bit, okay? And we're going to start with Pastor Caitlin over here. But in your journey, what is something that you could tell the audience as far as the process for you? What were some things that you may have done that
kept you going when life happened?
For me, it's the constant reminder of where I come from. And it's using where I come from as fuel instead of looking at it as a place of where God failed me or I failed myself. And so for me, it's always a constant reminder to look back. And I look back over my life to say, hey, I'm not where I was yesterday. I'm definitely not where I was 14 years ago. And to also look at it and say, I did not become what they said that I would become. I became the opposite. I began to look at everything that God allowed me to go through, and I looked at how he made me with it. Mm. And so I got to a place of where I began to say, hey, if this don't break me, it makes me. And that's my motive for myself. I always look at everything that you don't allow to kill me. That is something that you allow me to testify on. That is going to be something that's going to bring you more glory. That's going to be something that's going to be used to change another sister's life in the process of it. So I just began to look at my life as a whole and say, hey, everything about me is for your glory. When you made me, you said that all was good, all was well. So at the end of the day, what you allow, it is already well. It is already good. So that's how I get through it.
Amen. Awesome. All right, Spain.
I come after that how. But I don't have a specific way. Like, it really depends on the situation that I'm in. Like, if it's real heavy, I just tell myself, hey, Spain say, I say, you got 15 minutes to get it together because you got something to do. You can cry, you can have a fit, you can do whatever it is that you need to do. But after that, keep going. Because we ain't got time for this. Like, that's how I have to speak to myself because I'm so hard on me. And I know that I got something. Like, when you put that stuff on your back and you know who you are, you ain't got time to give up. You ain't got time to hold on to stuff. You ain't got time to carry anything else that ain't supposed to be there. You just got to, okay, we're going to take this little breather. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. Take no more time. Whatever you got to get out right now, get it out. Let it go. Keep going. If you got to sit down and think about it and talk to God, do it. Like, it's just not, it's not up to me. I'm not myself. I'm not for myself. This ain't about me right now. Don't nobody care about your tears, child. Keep going. This is how I really talk to myself. Because when you in it, it don't seem like none of what God told you. Right. It don't seem like nothing that you saw. It don't seem like none of that. So you just have to close your eyes and keep going. Like, ain't no other choice. Ain't no other choice. And I constantly tell people, if you tell yourself and you give yourself other options, you might choose another. So when you say, okay, well, I just got to do it, you just do it.
That's good.
That's it.
Take away the options.
Yeah, you have to.
Take away the,
you know, other stuff look good then.
You know what I'm saying? Be a little river.
Oh, yeah.
Be a little river.
Especially when they use your route.
Cause you know what? I people need to realize purpose is not easy. It's not easy, but it is easy to choose somebody else's purpose. It's easy to serve somebody else's purpose. Can I just be real? See, we got to know, like you said earlier, position. We got to know our position. And sometimes we also got to know the time limit of our position. Because so many times we stay in a place longer than we should. And we're like, wait a minute, time out, why everything going wrong? And not realizing that God is trying to drive us out. Have y'all ever been guilty of that? Because I know I have. Like, I know I was supposed to go. But I'm like, no, I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. I don't want to leave because I know what I can bring to the table for them. But know that God is calling me to something bigger.
Oh yeah, that has was my past season because I was a person that I always see stuff before it happened. Always, I already knew what the conversation was gonna be like, how it was gonna make the fallout be. Now instead of you sitting there saying, "Well, God, hell, you know, I'm a person I don't give up on folks," and the Holy Spirit will be saying, "Girl, if you don't let this still go, you don't understand what's on the other side of the holding on."
Right.
And I had to get to a point of where I stopped allowing myself to get hurt based off what I stayed in myself when he was telling me to exit out. And so a lot of the times God used to tell me, your hurt was because of you. It ain't the fact that that was what I wanted, but because free will, I let you stay longer than what you wanted to, but I told you to get out. So I learned to count up the cost to get gone.
Yeah, definitely. I remember earlier you were talking about how you don't really be friends now. I'm kind of the same way, only because, especially when you, I say level up, or you've been promoted to certain levels, it's like the hurt is real, and it happens from people that you help
That's closest to you.
Yeah, and it's like you know, I'm not gonna say you don't see it coming. I'm gonna say you're more so in denial.
That part.
You're in denial of you know it's right there in your face, but you're in denial. And a lot of times we're in denial because we wouldn't do it.
Right.
And it's just hard to really believe that somebody else would do it.
What I've had to realize, especially as a prophet, we really we hold the heart of God in the inside of us. And so the way we are designed to love, we love without limits. There's no, you can do me wrong and I'm going to leave you. It's like, I see past it because that's how God does to us.
Yeah.
So our viewpoint is always on a full standard. It's never one-sided. We're always looking at the picture wholeheartedly to say, well, you know, if I do leave, they ain't gonna make it through this season or whatever. That was my guilty pleasure. I used to stay because I understood that if I walk away now, that grace that was there about it because I was connected, that it will literally cause you to fall and you're gonna end up exactly where you're gonna fall in. And I used to be like, okay, I'm going to overstay to make sure you be able to stay in the right position. And so I used to stay in that place, not realizing, like, God, the biggest model God has given me is count up the cost. Is it worth what you're going to come out with? Is that hurt that you're going to have to go through another side of deliverance for? Because you don't allow something to plant itself deep down in there. Because those are roots that come forth. When every hurt, I always say that is a seed that take root. And so I begin to say, what I'm going through all these different healing and deliverance processes for, when it is simple just to let go.
Yeah.
It's easier to let go of what you know you don't need. So that's when I got to that point.
Wow.
That's a whole nother ball game. I don't really deal with friends a whole lot either, and I say that because sometimes what we have to do comes with so many different sacrifices. And it hurt to have to sacrifice the person that you didn't want to know. You get what I'm saying? So I don't really get close to friends and family either. That's the most important part. That's the hard part. I done had to completely self, like that show that I was telling you about, Rain. When I watched it, and I knew that I was going to have to cut some people loose because of the stuff that I had to break off.
Right.
Like, we creating something totally different and totally new. Like, a new bloodline, and it literally starts here.
Come on.
So if I'm saying the trauma of men stops with me, that means that every man I look at, I can't look at them the way that I was taught.
That's good.
So I have to completely wash myself of everything that I ever knew. That's hard. It's like a baby. You starting completely over. You learning people different. You learning situations different. You handling stuff different. You responding different. And it's just like, don't nobody understand. I'm just like, who I'm going to tell this to? Because they're going to think I'm crazy. So I don't really connect with a whole lot of people on that level, unless they one of the chosen people too.
That's good.
Because it's like the chosen people, we can sit in a room and have a conversation about, man, I went through this, but this how I handled it. I'm like, maybe I should take off. You get what I'm saying? Because we need that.
Right.
Because we learning something new. Ultimately, everybody trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and that's why I said I look at it as like puzzle pieces. Because each one of us are individually different, but when we come together, we form one picture, and that's God. Period. Like, ain't no other way around it. We all offer something different, and we can give something different, and we can see something different. and we can then be something different. If we got the whole entire world, because this is family right here.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And I had to learn that in order to cut off the people that I called family when they were ultimately relatives.
See, that's good. That's my biggest thing. I tell my people all the time, family is not the blood that you're always born into. It becomes the blood of Jesus at the end of the day. And that's the family that you're going to go into at the end of the day. When we leave and we cross from this side of the world, we're going into the family that we birthed into. Like the Bible lets you know that, and if you see the Savior, you're going to be over there with him. But if Abba is your father, you're coming on into heaven with him. And so ultimately, family don't always mean kin. Sometimes it's the blood that becomes the kin that we have to have. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's my family. Though that's my cousin, that's my family on the other side of this journey as well. So having a different stance or viewpoint behind people that are sent to you by way of God, having to realize that, hey, these are for me.
Right.
These are the ones that love me. These are the ones that got my best interest at heart. These are the ones that ain't going to betray me. These are the ones that are going to come to me and we're going to have the appropriate conversation. So knowing how to recognize who he gave you is the key for me.
Oh, definitely. Mic drop, right? Because that is so important. Because if you are stuck on it, you will sink in it. You'll sink in it. It's like all you're thinking about is what they didn't do.
Their rejection.
Yeah. And now, not realizing you become it. Not only are you becoming it for yourself, but you're becoming it for your children. And we have to be careful with that when it comes to marriage and children. Because a lot of times, like, prime example, I was sitting somewhere with some people, and it was an older, more mature, I say more mature, you know. I don't want to disrespect nobody. So I say more mature person, and they made a statement, and they said, you're not a wife if you don't cook. And my response was, I disagree. Because I don't cook. Can I cook? Yes, basic stuff. But if I don't cook, my prayer is, God, bring me the man that can cook. And I tell people all the time, my husband can cook, really cook. So he did that. But I was told, watch this, by somebody more mature, old enough to be my mom, saying, you're not a wife unless it. Now, if I didn't have a mind, my own mind, strong mind, if I didn't fall for, if I fell for stuff, I would say, I'm not a wife. Right? And a lot of times in the bloodline, the cycles continue because we're told you're not this if you don't do this. You got to do this and you got to do that. Not realizing that we all have our own book. First King don't look like Second King. Samuel don't look like Joshua. Okay? Genesis don't look like Exodus. We all have our own book, and we have to be careful with that because if we are so caught up on doing what society has created, I call it a system. When the system has been implanted in us, how can you believe in a system and believe in God?
That's good. And see, my ministry, I can go back to them, they can tell you this. The one thing that we've been talking about was breaking religion and tradition. And religion is with you, even in bloodlines and families. That means that what grandmama and them done, you still trying to do. We're living in a different day and time and age where it takes two people to run a household. And I was looking at a study that was done recently about, they was talking about when grandma stayed home and granddad paid the bills. But in the same token, the bill was $47, $80 back then. Compared to now, mortgage is $1,000 and up. And so that system now, you're living in a world that everything is going up, but pay is staying down. And so it's taking two people in order to make the house work. And so that's why in my house, we don't have gender roles. If the trash is out, I'll take it out. If the bills are due, we pay half all of them. Now, it ain't no you got this and mine is mine. No, ours is ours. After everything split down the middle, what we got left over, you do what you want to do then. Yeah. But we have a system to say, hey, I'm not going to put you in the struggle. You're not going to struggle over here because this is what you feel you're supposed to be taking care of. This is what it do. This is when it do. Here you go. Half of the time when my check hit, my husband, he can contest it. That's what it will call it. But he can contest to this, is that we make it do what it do off the river. Home is priority first. Then everything else come after. Do we go on our little date? Yes, we have our date night. But that's the honor system for us. We ain't gonna go date and we know the bills ain't paid.
Right.
So we create systems to where we saying, hey, this is what worked for us. I'm not looking at what my grandmama and them did, because grandmama them sat through some stuff we would never see through. Mm-hmm. We are a generation of women that totally view things in a whole other capacity. We understand we don't have to tolerate the things that came from back then. I personally understand that one for myself, because how my mama them sat and they stayed and sat through some things, I would never do that. Wow. Not saying that love and compassion to God forbid if anything was to transpire between me and my spouse, that I would not have that same grace and mercy, but to say that that's something that I would tolerate off the ripple, no. Right. So you have to understand what's meant for you. Mm-hmm. What's your house portion? What's your spouse need? Because your spouse ain't who your granddaddy was, or who you're not who your mama was. Right. And the only way cycles continue is when you come up with the same mindset that they try to give you as a child. God told me personally in 2000 and what year that was I stayed beside you with? 2015. When we family was living in a townhome. And God said, I'm breaking all systems of you now. So I've been detoxing since 15 from the systems of the world. Looking at television. That's something I can't do that in my life, to save my life. To sit back and look at the TV, I can't do it. But to read a book, to look up knowledge and information, he's been just changing everything about me since 15. He said everything that you grew up seeing and taking part in, that would not be your portion. Mm-hmm. So that generational curse and that cycle stopped with me. I wasn't going to allow my daughter to grow up and do the exact same thing that I done from the little time before I got saved. I wasn't going to become what my mom became in her cycle of just sitting and staying stuck. Go through the process with my dad when she should have left. So I became something that I understand who I am even in my marriage. When I say this respectfully as married women, when I say this, I keep myself I keep independence. I have a system of where I do what I gotta do in submissiveness as a wife, but I have my independence as a woman too, that if anything ever was to happen, I have a system of where it doesn't make or break me. So I still stand in a system like that, where God, at the end of the day, if we argue, the wrong name gets said, that don't mean I'm who you are. And I feel like in this day and time and generation with the women that we have, they become everything for the marriage and lose who they are in the process. And so I make sure that I keep who I am. And I always rediscover who I am daily. That means I reflect on me daily to make sure that I'm staying in alignment with who I know I am. Pretty much just staying true to myself.
Oh, yeah. I might want to call my mom out on this one. She'll be all right. I believe too. But I was having that same conversation with my mom because the marriages that I saw were so toxic, but they were hidden, if that makes sense. So it's like I became brainwashed in the type of wife I was supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to do when we get home. This is how you speak to me. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. This is how you carry yourself. And I'm like, oh, like, under that? And you telling me I got, okay, let's see how that goes. Because me and him, we are very different. Very different. So, by both of us being in a position to be chosen, it's hard because neither one of us saw a successful marriage. So it's like we pulling pieces from the examples that we had, and we just said nine one day, and I was like, dude, we really writing our own narrative. Mm-hmm. And truly following what God says marriage is. So I remember a time, like when I first got into marriage, really fresh. My mom was just like, girl, you better cook that man something that he told me he get out here and have something. I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it, not today. You know why? Because I don't feel like it. And something that you have to understand, mama, is that I'm not gonna follow your rules, because last time I checked, I ain't married you.
Oh, that's good.
And I had to wake her up to the point where, because she didn't even know she was doing it. She didn't even know that she was telling me something that was generational. So I'm telling her, you do know you doing the same thing that your mama did you, right? She like, not really. Okay, you divorced, right?
Yeah,
I am. Okay, well, understand that I ain't gonna take no advice from you.
Mm.
But it took so much guts out of me to be able to tell my mama,
Right.
you don't have room to tell me what to do in my marriage. Period. If I choose to do this and you disagree with it, guess what? I don't care.
Right.
Because this is my marriage, not yours. You get what I'm saying? And I had to realize that it wasn't wrong, because it was a part of me that felt like, oh man, I'm talking to my mama like this. I got to tell her this. It was hard. But I knew it was right, because it was different. And I knew that when I had to come and say, if I feel like what I did was right with God, I don't care what you got to say.
That's it.
Because it don't matter. He got us doing something to give an example to somebody else.
That's it.
It ain't got nothing to do with what we learned. Because obviously that was wrong. Shoot, both of y'all divorced. But I don't want to be like y'all.
Right.
I want to do something different. So I had to really just open that portion up, because it was like I was being fought so hard from my family because of religion. Because I come from a religious background. So it's when I tell you, it is totally different now, because I'm more so focused on the relationship that I have with God versus a list of rules and regulations that you have to follow to qualify yourself as. If I say the N word, it does not mean I love Jesus any less.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you look at me and you determine because I have on colors today, I don't love Jesus, it's a problem?
Right.
No. So I'm literally in a spot where I'm just like, either you get your mind together with God, or I'm going to have to cut you off for the purpose.
That, you know what? The focus got to be in the right place.
Okay.
The focus. I do believe that due to social media and stuff like that, I think a lot of people are trying to create similar marriages, but not based off of experience, based off of pictures. Mm-hmm. Pictures, not understanding the process of it. And like, I'll use me and my husband for example. One of the things that we agreed on was when we had our firstborn, well, my firstborn, when I had my firstborn, we agreed that we would not argue in front of the children. Like, that was just an agreement that came on. Now, this was the kicker. Of course, things changed because he would begin to be real quiet, which kind of confuses me, you know, because I'm like, okay, you're not going to say nothing. Not realizing, okay, this is actually a part of what we agreed on, but it's still like, I'm confused, and I had to really learn that. But also, with us, two different backgrounds, right? But knowing each other, that is key. Knowing each other. And every man is not the same. Every woman is not the same. So every marriage can never be the same. It can't. Like, I'm just saying, we ain't married to the same person. And I think that is so, like, that is just vital. Now, earlier I said, I don't cook. I cook. But being married to somebody that can cook, but not only somebody that can cook, but somebody that is like, you're going to be in this kitchen with me while I cook. Now, cooking changes for me. I'm learning stuff that I didn't know. Learning how to cook certain things that I didn't know, because when he cooked, he just feel like I'm supposed to be in the kitchen with him. So I can make a decision to say no, but the truth be told, no, because you can cook. Yeah, it's bonding time. Now, some people look at it as going out to eat, you know, You know, I know y'all, you know, some people, y'all, that ain't how we do it. We're a little different on that because both of us are entrepreneurs, so it's like we're going to get it. We're going to get what's ours. Both of us in ministry, so we got to serve and we got to do that. But I have no problem, and it's probably because my kids are little. I'm going to say that. So right now, I have no problem when we go out to eat. Of course, the kids are coming. That's not a problem for me. I love that. Right. So I can't say nothing right. But right now, and it's going to switch. It's going to change because it's going to mature. And life is going to change. This is the thing. Life is going to change. I'm going to say that again. Right. Life is going to change. So if I'm doing the same thing my grandma did, I'm not evolving. And if I'm not evolving, I'm not living. So it's like on flatline.
And I feel like from the marriage point, you are always evolving in a marriage. You are not the same person, especially when you're in Christ. Because you can go to bed thinking or feeling one thing, the next day God has been feel the whole script about how you felt and you thought. This last season of my marriage, my husband was like, I don't know you. Because my response has changed. Because God told me, he said, it was so funny. He said, the reason why things are the way that they are because you keep giving me the definition of insanity. He said, you're being repetitive in things that you keep getting the same results, but you're praying for something different. And he said, in order to change the verdict behind what you're asking and decreeing and declaring in a prayer, you have to do something different. And so what he was used to, he was trying to, I remember when we went to go get something one night. It was like in about 12 or something. The whole thing was open, was cooking. And he was trying to pick a little fight or whatever. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, anything else you want me to change? He was like, but I said, I just told you the answer to what you said. I will give you exactly what you're asking me for. We don't have to fuss about that anymore. And I made the necessary change. And so he tried it again maybe a week or so later, and I responded the exact same way. And he looked at me and he said, oh, you changed. and I told him, I say, because I'm no longer going to walk out with the definition of insanity is. And I say, it's not just you. This is for me. Because I got to learn how to get it right in order for us to master this thing to keep going. And the reason why we're stuck is because we're not mastering. And God gave me this strong word. He said, in order to do anything great, you have to learn how to master it. And he began to tell me how everything, even from a school system, the associates, the bachelors, the masters, and the doctors. He said, in order to make it to heaven, you have to make that PhD to make sure that you get in. And he said, this thing on this side is a season of mastery that comes behind everything that he's allowed. The reason why we go through cycles, we go through the generational curses, is because no one mastered it. So it continuously go in that cycle. It continuously go around the revolving door. And he said, in order for you to change the verdict, you have to master this. Change what you are doing in order to get a different outcome. And so I switched it out. Ever since then, everything about the dynamics of who we were shifted. Because it takes the stronger one to become the one to master in order for the other person to follow. Principles, like we said in the Bible. The Bible gives us principles. That means that there's something that has to be followed in order to get a different result. And so God said, the principle behind the marriage is, if one is in alignment, he draws the other one into it. But if both persons are dysfunctional, it will stay dysfunctional because the two are in agreement. And so he said, in order to break dysfunction, one has to align and pray for the other to come into the alignment that you are aligned into. And so I broke it and I mastered it. I say, we're not going to do this. So even to this day, he'll tell you after that.
I honestly feel like, woo child. Because what she is saying, that's what I'm experiencing right now. And it's so crazy because I was just like, in order to get something different, you got to do something same. You can't put apple pie in the oven and think you're going to pull out some chicken. It doesn't work that way. You got to do something different. We were literally just talking about it. So my responses have started to change. And he's looking at me like, you all right? You trying to kill me?
That boy.
I'm just like, okay, look, maybe I must be doing something right then.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's shifting the whole atmosphere in how we even talk to each other, because both of us are hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning how to be softer and take a different approach, because I never learned how to do it.
Right.
And I'm learning myself, as in, this is who I want to be.
Right.
So now I gotta start working from the place of what I plan on going.
Exactly.
So he started to recognize it. Now he like, okay, well I think we can talk now.
Right.
But it's because of that one. And it's always the strong one. And usually it's the one.
Right. And the truth be told, making these changes drives them to change. It's like an automatic. You know, it's like an automatic. And I know as women, we probably ask, wow, we always pressure. We're always the one that got to do more. We're always the one that got to pray more. We always the one. But what I've learned is that's not necessarily true, because you have some men who ended up with the woman that was dysfunctional. And they're the one they have to pray more. But they have it easier because it's easier for a woman to submit to a man, listen to a man. It's harder for a man to listen to a woman. So they have it easy. You know, there's some tackles, like, you know, to this thing when it comes to when women have to put in so much. And I always tell people, when you're praying, don't say that you have faith the person's going to change. Pray that God gives them the faith to change, because you can't have the faith, because you can't do none of the work. They got to do that on themselves. But what you can do is you can develop and walk into your transformation. Because what's going to happen, just like in the circles, when you transform, either they going to get with a program, or your transformation going to drive them out because they're not willing.
The key aspect to this is the Proverbs 31. I hear so many women that holler, I'm a Proverbs 31. If you was a Proverbs 31, you understood that she worked in prayer and she worked by her hands. She was busy all the way through. God made sure she was on the wall for her household. And God gave me this very strong one day. He said, the man is the foundation, but the woman is the structure. At any time, we cannot sit in this building without this structure being here. This is just the foundation side.
Right.
They are the strong thing that hold us up, but we are the thing that keep it together. And your prayers is what keep lives together. And so if you're not making sure that you're in the position to where you can rule, because structure is rulership. That's ruling. That's ruling. And so when it comes down to a marriage, it does not mean because you're the queen, don't make you less than the king. It just sets the order to make sure that you make sure that the rules are still followed.
That's it.
And I feel that most of the time as women, when we're in marriages, we take on the wrong rulership. We get the idea of the king mindset, not realizing that they're supposed to set the order, but you make sure that they are followed. And when it comes down to that in our marriages, especially in today's society, like she was saying, we have been shown and taught to follow what we've seen,
Right.
not create our own kingdom. With my house, I look at it as my kingdom.
Yes.
Everything that comes within it, whether it's my children or people, it comes subject to who I am in my house. That's my atmosphere. My prayers that I give with something out of alignment concerning my marriage, I don't give it to him. I give it to God. And I say, God, you set the foundation in the rulership because he's the head. The head is supposed to automatically be in a place of submission to hear back from the person that is the umbrella over it all.
Right.
So I give what I need to change back to him and say, you deal with him. And it comes back to, well, you don't sign it, baby. I had a dream last night. Oh, what did you dream? And in that dream, this is what I saw. And then here we go, okay, praise the Lord, because I know what I asked.
Right.
And so he goes back, he honors what I gave to him as Proverbs 31 that was working by night in prayer while he was asleep.
That's it.
So I feel that when a woman gets to a perfect place of understanding her rulership and understanding that you don't have to try to be the king and the queen in the palace, understanding that you ask the structure, you ask the queen, you the one that get the last say anyway. Everything everything still triggers back down in the kingdom back to the queen. So that at the end of the day, the structure of it all falls still back in your hand. The balls go back in your court, so it matters your position of how you're ruling. Because if you're ruling in the place that God has you, they'll automatically go back and get back in alignment.
Mic drop. Heaven. Yes, love it. Oh my goodness.
That was good. What'd you say after that?
Ooh, I hope y'all getting this. I do. Whether you're single, married, it don't matter. This will help you regardless. So you guys, I hope you have enjoyed this show. I hope you got some valid information through this conversation. Because I don't know about y'all, but I did. Like, gems were really dropped. Like, woo, yes. Before we end, y'all, just say one last thing that, God may give you to say, or just in the last encouraging word that you want to give to the audience today.
I would say make the main thing the main thing. Don't get in a position of where you're overworking yourself or your mind based on what you think you want. Understand that in times like this, it's important to know exactly what you want and go forward and stay focused upon that one thing.
Awesome.
I would say find who you are if you don't know. And after you find it, remember.
Nice. All right, you all. So this is the TIMERA Bell Show. Tea with the lady segment with Pastor Caitlin in Spain, you all. Heart it up. If you're loving it. And make sure you share the video, tag for DM5. Help spread this amazing conversation that can help your friend, your family, or just somebody you don't even know. Until next time, you all.
When I look to my right, they go greatness. When I look to my left, they go destiny. When I look to my front, there go my future. When I look to the back, oh no. My past is over with.